Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Bad Batch review. We're on episode 5, The Return. Um, let's just say that this episode is not filler, but it's meant to sort of continue this theme of Crosshair's redemption. It's not filler in the sense that, like, obviously things happen in this episode that are important. Echo returns. Yay! We finally get a look at Echo, who I feel like even in season 2 it was kind of just glossed over that he was just leaving, and now it's like, well, he's part of the Bad Batch, but he's also like doing stuff with Rex. I really want to see that happen. I feel like everyone kind of was like, yeah, let's see him do stuff with Rex, and I'm kind of like, well, yes, or let's have Echo leave to be with Rex. I'm like, I get it, I get what's happening, but I'd love to see that play out, like see them go on military operations or something to start to find where Tantus is. I feel like it's kind of like a part of the show that's just off in the distance, and it kind of weakens it just because I feel like this is something we could easily look at. Like we could have more episodes of just Rex and Echo, and we're not doing it because they're not the Bad Batch. It is what it is, though. Um, let's just say that Hunter isn't ecstatic that Crosshair's back. He seems to be the most reserved about Crosshair coming back, and Crosshair believes that that's because Hunter's jealous of the bond that he and Omega had when when Omega and Crosshair were breaking out of Mount Tantus. I would argue that Hunter is valid in thinking that Crosshair is going to betray them at some point. That's kind of like his whole thing. But I do think that Hunter's kind of holding back some emotions because he is jealous of the bond that Crosshair and Omega now share. Crosshair has a little section in the beginning where AZ's kind of like having him go through shooting drills, and he has a accuracy of 53%, which is very off from his normal average. AZ even mentions that. I do think that Crosshair's shooting is just going to become poor and poor, and that's kind of going to be it. It's him sort of learning how to be something other than a soldier, and he's going to actually have to stop being a soldier because he's just not going to be helpful enough in combat situations. Um, Basically the context of today's episode is Echo sort of is like, well, we need this information to figure out where Mount Tantus is, and then I think Crosshair says there's like an outpost that has that information. So they go to the outpost. It's remote, so there's no Empire there. They already abandoned the place, and Batcher's with them. Because Omega's with them, but there is a moment when they're formulating the plan. Hunter's kind of like, well, Omega, why don't you stay behind with Wrecker? Which, first of all, is a terrible strategy because that's just like half the batch just gone. So if there was any trouble, like we would be kind of screwed, and we see that in this episode that like yeah, like if they weren't there, they'd be kind of screwed. Um, but I do think that like Hunter is just scared that Omega's going to get captured again. I mean, they kind of mention it in the episode, but I feel like that's his main thing. But also like Omega looks so much younger than everybody, and then she actually makes a comment that like she's actually older than everyone. It's like, oh yeah, that's true. But she doesn't have the experience. I would say that Omega's right in the saying that she's older, but she doesn't have the experience. She's less mature than they are. But she can obviously hold her own, so she ends up going to the base and everyone's there. So that's why Batcher's there. But Batcher, of course, is like a dog, sort of. So she's able to kind of sniff out like this thing that's happening. Like she's like there's something happening right now. And everyone kind of just like doesn't pay attention, and then all of a sudden there's a big worm. Worm is spelled Wyrm. It's a type of creature in Star Wars. I don't really know if we've ever seen it before, but I feel like we've seen creatures similar. Just a big ass worm, really. I mean, that's kind of the only thing. Um, After they get attacked by the worm, they manage to get out of it. They do a whole bunch of shenanigans. This is really the action part of the show, and I want y'all to go watch it. But at the same time, it's kind of just very basic stuff. Like Hunter gets like pinned down sort of in like this cave area, and he has to get out, and they get him out, and boom. That it's the action of the show, which is cool. It's like interesting, I guess, but it's not as cool as like if the Empire was trailing them. It's just kind of like, oh, there's a creature, it's attacking. Ah, we got to get out. Like you know that no one, there's no real stakes. Like you understand that everyone's gonna make it out just fine. And of course, at the end of the episode, we get a little bit more of Crosshair's sort of redemption. He confides in Hunter. Hunter's like, all we can do is just be a little bit better each day. And like these are morals and messages that I think people watching the show need to also kind of grasp, right? Like, no one's gonna be perfect. So to have a character that is genuinely like not that good and then kind of start to learn how to become better. Maybe not amazing, but better. It's an important life lesson because everyone in the Bad Batch learned how to become better. They were all kind of like annoying in season 7 of Clone Wars, and they've all become personality wise very complex. And they're not like just one trait anymore. They're human beings. So Crosshair needs to learn how to become more human. And, obviously he kind of acts like a robot in season 1 and season 2, like just Empire robot, like I'm gonna do whatever the Empire wants. And now he has to learn like I'm an individual. I can do my own stuff. And the Bad Batch is all about individuality in a group setting. So I think that, messages like that are just important. And so they go off, and I think Echo's probably going to leave the team again. I don't remember if that happens, but that just seems like what's going to happen. So let's talk about my rating for this episode because, obviously I enjoyed it. It was a decent episode, but I would give it a 7.5 out of 10. I think that's a fair rating. It's not like the best episode, but it's not the worst one. There's episodes we have under it, and there's episodes that we have over. In fact, actually, this would be the midway point in terms of all the episodes, and I think that's probably fair. This is gonna end up changing my overall rating of the show. We started, I think I said 8.3 yesterday. I was wrong. The math translates to it. I said yesterday, last week. The math translates to like an 8.2 out of 10. So with this 7.5 for the return, we're going to be dropping it down to a 7.9 out of 10. Still would round up to an 8, so it's still, if you're going off of Letterbox scores, 4 out of 5. I know Letterbox doesn't do shows yet, but that's just kind of where I'm at. This is still a very, very good season. Probably the best season of the Bad Batch so far, but the Bad Batch has always been sort of good, decent storytelling. It's just not amazing. But there's nothing really to hate here. I just don't love episodes that don't fully go into the main plot, which is obviously the whole Palpatine cloning thing. I want to see more of that. That's really what I'm in here for. I'm here for the episode 9 connections because I feel like that's what's most interesting about this show. But I hope you all enjoyed. Comment down below your thoughts on the Bad Batch season 3, episode 5, The Return. And make sure to like, subscribe, comment down below, all that good stuff. I already said comment down below. But yeah, share with your friends and family. I love you all. Peace.